The Chiral Union convoy drifted through the quiet darkness of the outer trade lanes. 6 cargo ships, each loaded with crates of mineral ore, moved in a slow but steady formation. 2 smaller escort vessels patrolled alongside, their engines leaving, faint trails of blue light. This was supposed to be a safe route. No pirates, no hostile fleets, just empty space between the Union's mining colonies and the inner systems. Captain Marin of the cargo ship Silvertide leaned back in his chair, watching the navigation display. The glowing dots of his own convoy moved across the grid. A soft hum from the engine room filled the air, mixing with the occasional beep of the comms console. He had done this run 100 times before, and it had always been the same. Long, uneventful days and nights. Then the sensors picked up something. At first it was just a faint signal on the edge of detection. The officer at the sensor station leaned forward and tapped the controls. The signal was moving toward them, and fast. It wasn't on any scheduled traffic list. No identification tag, no registry beacon. Just a raw, unfiltered power reading, unlike anything the officer had seen before. "Captain," the officer said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Unknown contact. Bearing 347. Large mass reading." Marin straightened immediately. "Large how?" The officer hesitated. "It's very large, sir. Possibly larger than any civilian transport we know of." The convoy's escorts quickly adjusted their position, moving between the incoming signal and the cargo ships. The lead escort, the Vera, sent out a standard hail. The message was polite and clear. "Identify yourself, state your business, and approach slowly." No reply came. The signal grew stronger, and then without warning it emerged from faster-than-light travel. A ship filled the star field ahead. It was enormous, far bigger than any military cruiser the Chiral Union owned. Its hull was dark, covered in sharp angles and heavy armor plates. Strange patterns of metal reinforcement stretched across its surface, giving it the appearance of a predator's hide. There were no glowing banners or bright colors, only cold, steel, and a painted name in bold, blocky letters that none of the convoy crew recognized. Titan's Wrath. The alien escorts froze. This was not a merchant ship, not a wandering freighter, not anything they had seen before. The scale alone was intimidating. The vessel's engines rumbled with a low, constant vibration that their sensors picked up even at this distance. "Send another hail," Captain Marin ordered. The Vera did. Still, no response. The massive ship did not change course, but it did slow its approach. It kept its bow pointed directly at the convoy, like a hunter watching its prey. On the Vera, Captain Holran whispered to his first officer, "If it's a warship, it's like nothing in our records. No fleet insignia, no Union markings, no Empire tag. It looks old, but it's not damaged. It's ready for battle." Inside the Titan's Wrath, Commander Harris stood at the center of the command deck. His crew worked silently at their stations. Rows of holographic displays floated in the air, showing the alien convoy from every angle. Harris watched the escorts shift nervously, their formation tightening. "2 escorts, 6 cargo ships," reported Lieutenant Mira from the scan console. "Energy output low on their weapons. They're not here for a fight." "They're entering a restricted zone," Harris said calmly. "Mark their path." A thin red line appeared across the navigation display, showing where the alien convoy was headed. Beyond that line lay a quiet, empty region. empty to most of the galaxy at least. Harris knew better. The alien escorts transmitted again, this time with a slight edge in their voices. Harris didn't answer. His orders were clear. Do not speak unless necessary. Do not reveal more than needed. For now, the Titan's wrath would watch. On the Kyril ships, tension grew with each passing minute. "Why are they not answering?" one of Marin's officers asked quietly. "Are their comms damaged?" "No," Marin replied, his eyes locked on the huge vessel's silhouette. "They're choosing not to speak." Word spread quickly among the convoy crews. Some whispered that the ship might belong to a lost empire from the old wars. Others thought it might be a deep space raider, a relic from an age when violence was common in these lanes. The escorts prepared their defense grids, but they knew that if the giant vessel attacked, they wouldn't last more than a few minutes. The Titan's wrath adjusted its position slightly, drifting to match the convoy's speed. Its sheer mass made the movement seem deliberate and slow, yet every alien crew member felt the weight of that motion. The warship seemed to be measuring them, calculating. "Captain Holran," Marin's voice came over the comm. "If this turns bad, your job is to get the convoy out. We can't fight something like that." "I know," Holran replied grimly. "But if they wanted us dead, I think it would already be over." For another long hour, the massive ship shadowed them in silence. The Vera sent constant updates to the Union Defense Network, though it was uncertain if any help could arrive in time. The unknown vessel's technology was difficult to read. Its shields flickered with strange energy patterns, and its weapons, if they were weapons, were hidden behind thick armored shutters. Finally, a decision was made on the Kyril side. The Vera would break formation and speed ahead to the nearest defense station to warn them. The second escort, the Lorin, would remain behind to guard the cargo ships. The Vera angled its course and accelerated. Inside the Titan's wrath, Harris saw the movement immediately. "They're splitting formation," Lieutenant Mira reported. "Let them go," Harris said. "We're not here to destroy. We're here to send a message." The crew obeyed, though a few young officers exchanged curious glances. Harris kept his attention on the remaining ships. The alien captain still hadn't realized the true reason. Humans were here, or what lay ahead in the path they were taking. Out in the void, the Vera disappeared into faster-than-light travel. The remaining ships continued forward, the shadow of the Titan's wrath looming over them. In the Kyril Union's long history of trade, they had encountered pirates, raiders, even military patrols from rival states. But nothing like this. Nothing that moved with such patience, as though time itself bent to its will. Captain Marin didn't know it yet, but this day would be recorded in the archives of every major galactic power. First contact had been made, and the ship they had met was no ordinary vessel. It was a monster, and it carried the flag of a race long absent from the stars. The galaxy would never be the same. The Titan's wrath kept its steady place behind the Kyril convoy. Its massive hull reflected the faint light of a distant star, making it look like a black mountain drifting through space. Inside, the human crew worked in calm silence, their movements precise and practiced. Every station was manned, every screen filled with streams of tactical data. Commander Harris stood near the main display. His hands rested behind his back as he studied the alien convoy. The smaller escort, Lorin, moved in a tight pattern around the cargo ships, keeping a shield between them and the human vessel. The alien formation was tense, but still disciplined. Harris respected that. "Scan results, Lieutenant Mira," he said without looking away from the screen. "They're lightly armed," she replied. "Plasma cannons, low-yield torpedoes, standard defense shields. Their power signatures are steady, no signs of charging for an attack." Harris gave a single nod. "They know they can't win." "That's good. But they haven't turned back." Mira hesitated. "Sir, if they continue on this course, they'll enter the restricted zone in less than 2 hours. That's why we are here," Harris said. His tone carried no emotion, just certainty. On the alien ships, the mood was very different. Inside the Lauren, Captain Varric paced between the helm and the sensor station. His crew worked quickly, scanning the human vessel for any weakness. But the readings were unlike anything they had encountered. The human ship's armor was so thick that their scanners couldn't fully penetrate it. Even the engines seemed to operate on unfamiliar principles, emitting a deep, steady vibration rather than the high-pitched pulse of most known drives. "It's not a warship design I recognize," said the Lauren's chief engineer. "It's built for endurance and firepower. No ornament, no style, just efficiency." Varric frowned. "Or maybe intimidation. Look at it. They could have built something smaller, but they chose to make it this size. They want everyone who sees it to know they're not to be challenged." In the Silvertide, Captain Marin listened quietly as the escort captain's analysis came through, the shared comm channel. He didn't disagree. Every move the Titan's Wrath made was slow and deliberate, like a predator conserving energy until the perfect moment. After nearly an hour of silent shadowing, the human ship suddenly adjusted, its course by a fraction. The change was small, but enough to place it directly in the convoy's path. "Are they blocking us?" Marin asked aloud. "Possibly," Varric answered through the comm. "Or they want us to slow down." On the Titan's Wrath, Harris gave his first order in some time. "Helm, match their vector exactly. Keep distance at 600 kilometers." "Aye, sir." The ship's enormous bulk shifted slightly, engines flaring just enough to keep pace. No weapons were activated, no shields raised higher than normal. Yet to the alien crews, it felt like the warship was pressing a hand against their chest, forcing them to feel its presence. "Still no communication?" Harris asked. Mira shook her head. "They've stopped sending hails after the last one," went unanswered. "Good," Harris said. "We don't need small talk." Back on the Lauren, the tension was growing. Varric's second officer leaned closer and whispered, "Sir, what if they are testing us?" Varric glanced at the huge vessel on the display. "If they are testing us, I think we are already failing. We have no way to resist them." Meanwhile, the Vera, the other escort that had broken formation earlier, was racing toward the nearest defense station. Its captain transmitted regular updates, each one marked urgent. He knew every second mattered. But deep inside, he feared that even the defense fleets might not be able to stop a ship like the Titan's Wrath. The convoy continued forward. Stars drifted slowly past. The quiet of space felt heavier than usual. The Kyril crews avoided speaking about what they all sensed, that the human ship was not here for simple inspection or chance encounter. Finally, Harris broke the silence. "Aboard the Titan's Wrath. Prepare transmission package 1. Low frequency. Open channel to all ships in the convoy." A communications officer quickly set it up. "Channel open, sir." Harris stepped forward, His voice was calm and level, carrying none of the uncertainty the aliens might have hoped for. "Identify yourselves." On the silver tide, Marin froze. The deep voice came through every speaker on every ship without distortion, without static. It felt like the voice was speaking directly into the room. "This is Captain Marin of the Chiral Union freighter Silvertide," he said, forcing steadiness into his tone. "We are on a trade route delivering ore to the inner systems. Who are you?" "This is the Titan's wrath," Harris replied. "Your course takes you toward a restricted zone. You will alter course immediately." Marin blinked in confusion. "Restricted zone? This is neutral space. We have traveled this route for years without interference." "No longer," Harris said. There was no threat in his voice, but there was no compromise either. "The zone ahead is under human observation. Entry is not permitted." Varric cut in over the shared channel. "Observation? For what reason? Who are you to restrict Union? Trade routes?" Harris didn't argue. Instead, he sent a short data burst to the convoy. The alien ships received it instantly, their displays filling with a grainy scan image. It showed a massive structure drifting ahead, half hidden in the shadow of a shattered moon. Even in the low-quality scan, its size was obvious. It dwarfed the largest known stations in Union space. Its surface was scarred and burned in places, but large sections seemed untouched, as if they had been in perfect preservation for centuries. The alien crews stared at the image. Some of them recognized the outline from old historical files, records of a war fought thousands of years ago against an unknown predator species. The predator fleets had been destroyed, but not before they had burned entire systems. This station matched the descriptions perfectly. Marin's voice was quieter now. That cannot be real. Those wars were from the ancient cycle. The stations were all destroyed." "Not all," Harris replied. "This one survived, and it is not dead." A silence fell over the alien channel. The idea that the station might still function was almost impossible to accept. Yet if the human ship was here to guard it, there had to be a reason. "What is inside it?" Varric asked. "That is not for you to know," Harris said. "You will turn back. If you do not, your safety cannot be guaranteed." Harris ended the transmission without waiting for a reply. On the Titan's wrath, the crew went back to silent monitoring. The alien convoy slowed slightly, unsure whether to obey or press on. The galaxy had not yet learned that humans were back among the stars. But for this small convoy, the truth was becoming clear. Humanity had returned, and they were watching closely. The convoy moved slower now. The alien crews whispered to one another, glancing at the image the human ship had sent. The massive station, hidden behind the broken moon, seemed more like something from a nightmare than from history. No one wanted to believe it was real, yet the deep tone of the human commander's voice had carried too much certainty to ignore. On the cargo ship Silvertide, Captain Marin leaned forward in his chair, his hands gripping the armrests. The crew around him worked in tense silence. He could see the Titan's wrath still following at the same distance, its engines glowing faintly. It made no unnecessary moves, as if it had all the time in the galaxy. "They are still behind us," said the navigator quietly. "Speed matched exactly," Marin nodded. "They do not want to lose sight of us." In the escort ship Lauren, Captain, Varric stared at the tactical display. He had seen warships before, but never one like this. Its shield readings were unusual, stable but layered, almost like several shields stacked over one another. That kind of defense was rare, expensive, and impossible for most fleets to maintain during travel. Whoever these humans were, they had built something far beyond the norm. "They told us to turn back," said his first officer, breaking the silence. Varric gave a short nod. "And if we do not, I think they will force us to." The officer looked uneasy. "Do you think they are bluffing?" "No," Varric said simply. Across the void, inside the Titan's wrath, Commander Harris stood at the main display, hands still, behind his back. The alien convoy had slowed but had not yet turned. His eyes moved to the glowing red line that marked the restricted zone. They were less than 90 minutes from crossing it. "Sir," said Lieutenant Mira, "do we issue a second warning?" "Not yet," Harris replied. "They have the information they need. If they are wise, they will make the correct choice on their own." "And if they are not wise?" she asked. Harris's voice remained calm. "Then we show them why the ICE zone is restricted." The communication room aboard the Silver Tide came alive with incoming signals. The other cargo captains were speaking at once, their voices filled with uncertainty. "Captain Marin, what if the station is abandoned?" one asked. "We could be turning back for nothing." "Abandoned stations do not require a warship this size to guard them," Marin replied. "And they certainly do not send warnings in that tone." Another captain spoke up. "If the Union finds out we turn back because of a single human vessel, they will not be pleased." Marin leaned closer to the microphone. "If the Union wants to send a fleet, that is their choice. I am not going to risk my crew against something that humans think is dangerous." In the Lorin, Varric's crew exchanged worried glances. They were soldiers, sworn to protect the convoy, but even soldiers knew when a fight could not be won. The weapons aboard their ship might scratch the armor of the Titan's wrath, but they would never destroy it. Then the voice returned. It came over, every frequency at once, so clear that it almost seemed to be inside the ships themselves. "Convoy, you are 1 hour from the restricted zone. Alter course now." Marin answered immediately. "Human vessel, we acknowledge your warning, but this is neutral space. The Chiral Union has no record of a human claim here." "This claim is not political," Harris replied. "It is survival. The structure ahead is active. Its defense systems will target anything that comes close." Varric joined the transmission. "You have proof of this?" "Yes," Harris said, and another data burst followed. This time, the image was not still. It was a short recording from the Titan's Wrath's own sensors. The alien captains saw the station's surface slowly moving, tiny panels sliding. Open, vents releasing bursts of gas, faint energy ripples passing across its hull. Whatever was inside was not sleeping completely. Marin felt a chill down his spine. "It is alive." "Not alive in the way you think," Harris corrected. "But dangerous. Its systems are old, unstable, and hostile. Your shields would not last a single volley from its main guns." There was silence on the alien channel. Every captain knew that the human was likely telling the truth. No one would send such a massive ship just to bluff a few cargo haulers. Finally, one of the cargo captains spoke. "We should turn back." But another voice argued, "We cannot show weakness. If the humans think they can control these lanes, soon they will claim every route we use." The argument grew heated. Some wanted to obey the human warning, others wanted to push forward and call their bluff. The escorts waited for the captains to reach an agreement, but the tension was already clear. There was no unity in the convoy. Inside the Titan's wrath, Harris listened to the alien transmissions without interfering. His crew picked up every word, translating it in real time. He knew that fear was spreading among them. It would make them easier to guide or easier to break if they chose defiance. 50 minutes to the line, Mira reported. Harris gave a short nod. Maintain distance. Do not engage unless they cross. On the Lauren, Varric felt the pressure of command heavy on his shoulders. He knew that his orders from the Union were to protect the convoy, not to start a war. But if the humans attacked, there was little he could do. "Captain," said his first officer, "if it comes to it, do we fight or run?" Varric's jaw tightened. "If that ship fires on us, we run. I will not waste lives in a battle we cannot win." Meanwhile, the Vera was still racing toward the defense station. The station's commander was already reviewing the data, and the decision to dispatch reinforcements was being debated. But the distance was great, and any help would arrive too late if the humans decided to act now. The alien convoy crept closer, to the invisible border. Every ship was aware of the ticking clock. The Titan's wrath followed, its presence like a shadow that could not be escaped. In the final minutes before the line, Marin made his decision. He opened a private channel to Varric. "If they fire, protect the cargo ships. Do not engage unless you have to." "I understand," Varric replied. But before they could act, the human voice returned one last time. "You are now 30 minutes from the restricted zone. This is your final warning." The words carried no anger, no threat, but the meaning was clear. If they crossed that line, there would be consequences. Marin looked at the navigation screen, at the great black shape still, trailing them. The decision now lay entirely with the convoy, and the galaxy waited for what would happen next. The Chiral convoy floated through space like a cluster of drifting lights, but there was no peace among its crew. The image of the giant station beyond the broken moon had burned into their minds. It did not look like something built for trade or research. Its jagged lines, heavy armor, and the strange pulsing of hidden systems made it appear alive in a cold, mechanical way. On the cargo ship Silvertide, Captain Marin sat in the meeting chamber with his senior officers. The ship's hum was the only sound for a moment before his navigator finally spoke. "Sir, I have compared the scan with old Union archives. The structure matches records of a Predator-class siege station from the First Galactic War." Marin's brow furrowed. "The war that ended 3,000 cycles ago." "Yes," the navigator replied, "but the design is exact. The outer ring, the central tower, even the angled weapon ports. They were built by the Predator species the Union fought in the ancient cycle." Marin tapped his fingers against the A table. "Those ships and stations were destroyed. Every record says so." The navigator hesitated. "Every record says most were destroyed, but even back then, some were unaccounted for." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the stories. The IO Predator fleets had been unlike anything before or since. They had burned planets to ash and crushed whole fleets without warning. It had taken the combined power of a dozen empires to finally defeat them. If this station was truly one of theirs, then it was not just dangerous. It was a nightmare from history. In the escort ship Lauren, Captain Varric heard the same news from his own crew. The ship's historian, a quiet officer named Rellan, stood by the display screen. "Sir, if this station is still operational, even partially, our weapons will be useless against it. The records say each of these stations had enough firepower to destroy a capital ship in a single volley." Varric looked at the tactical display where the Titan's wrath still followed them like a shadow. "And yet the humans are not fleeing from it," he said. Rellan nodded, "which means they believe they can fight it, or they have already done so before." This thought unsettled the crew more than the station itself. The idea that the humans, a species absent from the galactic stage for centuries, could face such a relic of destruction and remain so calm spoke of either unmatched power or reckless courage. Inside the Titan's wrath, Commander Harris stood in front of the main display where the station's image rotated slowly. The red glow of its central core was faint but constant. Around it, dormant turrets lay folded into the armor plating, but some had shifted slightly in the last scan. Lieutenant Mira approached him. "The aliens have realized what the station is. We intercepted several transmissions between their ships." Harris's eyes stayed on the display. "Let them talk. Fear is a tool." "Do we warn them again?" she asked. "No," Harris said. "They have had enough warnings. If they cross into the zone, they will see for themselves." In the Silver Tide, the arguments among the convoy captains continued. The channel was filled with voices, some demanding retreat, others insisting on pushing forward. One captain shouted that if they turned back now, it would show weakness to the humans. Another countered that if they did not turn back, it would show foolishness to the entire Union. Marin finally cut through the noise. "Enough. This is not about pride or insult. This is about survival. You have all seen the scans. If that thing wakes fully, none of our ships will survive." Before anyone could answer, the sensors picked up something new. "Energy spike," the Lauren sensor officer reported. "Coming from the station." Varric moved to the console. "Source? Forward weapon array," the officer said. "Low-level activation. It's powering something." Marin received the same report seconds later. The image on his display now showed faint streams of light spreading along the station's surface, moving like veins under metal skin. The comms channel came alive again, but this time it was the humans speaking. Harris's voice cut through the static. "Convoy, your time is over. The station is waking. Turn back immediately." His voice was steady, but the words were heavier now. Even the most stubborn of the convoy captains went silent. The image of the station's surface changing was enough to crush any remaining doubts. On the Titan's wrath, the crew watched as more of the station lit up. A long, dark barrel extended slowly from the central tower, its surface lined with strange patterns that glowed faintly. Mira spoke softly. "Main gun deployment. Estimated firing readiness, 20 minutes. Harris gave his first decisive order of the day. "Weapons crew, prepare batteries. Shield control, stand by." The humans moved without haste, but with precision. Panels slid open on the Titan's wrath, revealing long rows of cannons hidden under the ship's armored plates. The alien convoy saw the movement and panicked. On the Lauren, Varric gritted his teeth. "They are not bluffing. They are ready for battle." Some of the cargo captains still hesitated. "We can still try to pass before it fires," one said. But his voice lacked conviction. Marin finally gave the order that most had been waiting for. All ships, turn back. Set course for alternate route Theta 5. We will file a full report to the Union once we are safe. One by one, the ships began to turn, their engines flaring as they moved away from the broken moon. The Lauren took the lead position, scanning constantly for signs of pursuit from the station. Harris watched them change course from his command deck. He did not smile, but his tone held a note of approval. Good. They have sense after all. Mira looked at him. Do we escort them out of the zone? Yes, Harris replied. Stay with them until they are clear. If the station tests its weapons, we will respond. As the convoy retreated, the glow from the station dimmed slightly, but it did not shut down completely. The ancient machine seemed to sense the presence of ships nearby, waiting for one to stray too close. Varick's crew remained on edge. Even as they moved away, they could not shake the feeling that the station was watching them, aware of their every movement. For Marin, the relief of turning back was mixed with something else, curiosity. Why were the humans guarding this place? How had they come to find it? And if they could destroy something like this, what else were they capable of? As the Titan's wrath followed behind the convoy, its weapons still extended, the alien crews understood one thing clearly. Humanity had not just returned to the galaxy. They had returned with power strong enough to guard the deadliest relics of the past, and no one knew how many more of these secrets they held. The moment the first energy spike appeared on the scanners, the control deck of the Titan's wrath grew tense. Red lines of data rolled across the main display as the ship's systems locked onto dozens of moving targets. Harris stood in the center of the command floor, his eyes fixed on the growing cluster of signals coming from the dormant station. He had known this place would not stay silent forever, but he had not expected it to wake so suddenly. Lieutenant Mason's voice cut through the heavy quiet. Commander, I am reading 37 power surges across the structure. Weapon ports are opening. Defense turrets are rotating to target. The alien convoy was still holding position some distance away, but the first sign of hostile movement sent ripples of panic across their formation. Ships began turning, engines flaring bright as some captains prepared to flee without waiting for permission. Send them a message, Harris ordered. His voice was steady but firm. Tell them to get clear of the firing line. If they don't, they will not have time to react. Within moments, the Titan's wrath sent a short burst transmission across all channels. The Kirill convoy commander received it and wasted no time. His voice, sharp with fear, rang over the open comms to his fleet. All ships fall back immediately. Do not wait. Do not argue. The alien freighters and escorts began their retreat, but one of the smaller escort vessels had fallen behind. Its engines were under strain, and before the crew could push to full speed, one of the station's massive defense cannons locked onto it. Cannon charging, Mason reported. Impact in 9 seconds. Harris gave a single nod. Target, the cannon. Fire primary rail battery. From the human warship's port side, an armored panel slid away, revealing the heavy railgun's loading mechanism. A slug of dense alloy slid into the firing chamber, and the weapon unleashed a blinding flash of blue-white light as it fired. The round moved so fast that even the tracking systems barely kept up. In an instant, the station's cannon exploded into a bloom of molten fragments. The Kirill escort's captain stared in silent disbelief as his vessel passed through the expanding cloud of glowing debris. He sent no words, only a tight, respectful nod toward the looming shadow of the Titan's wrath before pushing his ship to safety. The alien convoy had now pulled far back, leaving the human vessel alone in the dark space between the station and the retreating fleet. The Titan's wrath was still, but inside, the crew moved with precision. Harris knew the danger was only beginning. "Commander," Ensign Lyra called from the tactical station. "The station is bringing additional weapons online, multiple missile bays, laser batteries, and something larger. I cannot identify it, but the power readings are extreme." The ship's main display shifted to show the heart of the station. In the center of the rotating defense platforms, a massive core was heating up. It was as if the station itself was preparing to strike. Harris stepped forward and studied the image. "It's not just automated defenses," he said. "There's a main gun in there, and if it fires, it won't miss." In the observation gallery above the command floor, crew members leaned forward in tense silence, watching the tactical readouts. They could feel the vibration in the deck plates as the Titan's wrath began redirecting power from non-essential systems into weapons and shields. The station's smaller guns were already aiming at the human ship, but Harris gave no order to fire yet. He wanted the enemy to commit first. In his experience, holding position under pressure forced the opponent to make mistakes. The first mistake came quickly. One of the station's defense turrets fired a burst of high-energy plasma. The bolts streaked toward the Titan's wrath, but the ship's forward shields absorbed the impact with a ripple of blue light. Harris finally gave the order his crew had been waiting for. "Return fire. Target turrets first, then missile bays." The ship came alive. Batteries of plasma, cannons along both flanks opened fire, each blast cutting through the dark space with burning light. The turrets on the station were torn apart one by one, each explosion sending fragments spinning into the void. The station responded with its own volley, streams of missiles racing toward the Titan's wrath. But the ship's point defense systems tracked and destroyed them before they came close. In the midst of the battle, Harris noticed something unusual. Several sections of the station were not firing at all. They were heavily armored and shielded almost, as if they were hiding something. He filed the observation away for later, focusing on the immediate threat. The Chiral convoy, now far from the fight, watched in stunned silence over long-range sensors. What they saw was unlike any battle they had witnessed. The human warship did not dodge wildly or retreat. It advanced slowly, shields raised, weapons striking with precision. Each shot was calculated, not wasted, as if the crew knew exactly where to hit to cause maximum damage. The station's defensive fire began to falter. With each turret destroyed, its counterattacks grew less coordinated. Yet the core weapon still charged, its power signature rising to dangerous levels. Harris recognized the pattern. It was nearly ready to fire. "Mason," he said, "bring the forward railgun to full charge. We take the core out before it finishes." The ship's lights dimmed as power was drawn into the weapon. The railgun's hum grew louder, a deep vibration that could be felt throughout the decks. On the tactical display, the station's core glowed brighter and brighter, its energy reading spiking. The moment before the core could release its power, the Titan's wrath fired. The railgun slug smashed into the station's central weapon chamber, tearing through layers of armor and shattering the power conduits inside. A shock wave rippled outward, and several sections of the station went dark instantly. For a long moment, only drifting debris and the faint glow of the station's remaining lights filled the void. The crew of the Titan's wrath waited, tense, unsure if more threats would emerge. But the readings showed no further charging from the core. Harris allowed himself a slow breath. Status: all primary threats neutralized, Mason confirmed. Some small defenses remain active, but nothing that can pierce our shields. Good, Harris said. We hold position. Scan the structure for any remaining hazards. The ship steadied itself in the silent field of wreckage, its massive frame surrounded by the broken remains of the ancient station's weapons. The Titan's wrath had faced the awakening threat head-on and stood unshaken. Far in the distance, the Kyril ships whispered to one another about what they had just witnessed, their words carrying both fear and awe. The monster ship of humanity had lived up to its name, and the galaxy was about to remember it. The wreckage of the station drifted silently against the backdrop of distant stars. The Kyril convoy had moved far enough to feel safe, but even from that distance, they could not ignore the shadow that still loomed behind them. The Titans. Wrath had survived the first volley, and it was clear now that it had not shown its full power. Inside the human warship, Commander Harris moved deliberately between stations. His eyes scanned the displays, each filled with streams of data from the station's destroyed weapons and remaining defensive systems. The ship's crew moved with disciplined precision, adjusting shields, monitoring weapon outputs, and recording damage. There was no panic, no doubt. They had faced a threat that could have destroyed an entire fleet, and they had survived. Lieutenant Mira turned to him. Commander, the main weapon systems on the station are inactive, but structural scans show that the core is still unstable. If it explodes on its own, the shockwave could damage nearby ships. Harris nodded. Then we finish it completely. Prepare full armament. We cannot leave a half-dead predator in space. In the Kyril convoy, Captain Marin's hands tightened around the controls of the Silvertide. Even at a safe distance, he felt the presence of the Titan's wrath. It was a ship that carried both authority and power, and it had no intention of hiding either. The convoy remained quiet, following his orders to keep moving, but every captain knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. On the human ship, Harris issued his orders calmly. Target acquisition complete. Focus fire on the central tower. Primary and secondary weapons synchronize for maximum impact. The weapons officers acknowledged, and the ship shuddered slightly as power was rerouted. Massive plasma cannons along the sides of the Titan's wrath flared to life, each beam cutting through the darkness with precision. The railgun charged. Again, its hum a deep vibration felt in the deck plates. Mira's voice was steady but firm. All systems ready, weapons primed. Harris gave a single nod. Engage! The Titan's wrath unleashed its fury in a controlled sequence. Plasma, bolts streaked toward the central tower of the station, striking with pinpoint accuracy. Each hit detonated armor plates and sent fragments into space, but the station continued to hold its shape. The humans had expected this. Then the railgun fired. The projectile pierced the station's core, tearing through the remaining defenses and detonating the unstable energy within. A brilliant explosion expanded outward, lighting the dark void with blinding energy. Shock waves rolled across the station, twisting metal, collapsing structures, and scattering debris into the blackness. The Kyril convoy watched in awe and disbelief. Even from a safe distance, they could see the brilliance of the explosion and feel its distant energy ripple through their sensors. The human vessel had destroyed a station that had been considered a relic of unimaginable power. Inside the Titan's wrath, the crew monitored the results. Shields absorbed fragments from the explosion, and sensors recorded every movement of the scattered wreckage. Harris walked the deck, calm and composed, yet fully aware of the significance of their action. Lieutenant Mira spoke quietly. "Commander, the core is fully neutralized. No further energy readings above background. Station completely incapacitated." "Good," Harris said. "Begin collection of remaining debris for study. This is valuable data for the fleet, and we cannot allow these systems to remain adrift." Outside, the field of wreckage continued to drift. The broken remnants of the station slowly rotated, casting jagged shadows against the distant stars. The Titan's wrath maintained its position, a silent guardian and conqueror at the same time. Back in the Kyril convoy, Varric could not contain his respect. "They did not exaggerate their capabilities," he muttered to his first officer. "That ship could have destroyed all of us without hesitation," Marin added. "And they did it without hesitation. That is the true difference. Humans now possess power the galaxy has not seen for centuries." Even the youngest crew members of the convoy whispered among themselves about what they had witnessed. Stories of humans returning from myth to reality spread quickly, and even distant stations would soon hear about the Titan's wrath and its captain. On the human ship, Harris reviewed the post-battle scans. Though the station was destroyed, residual energy pulses suggested that its inner systems had been storing fragments of ancient knowledge. The Titan's wrath had not only survived, but now possessed valuable intelligence for future operations. Mira asked, "Commander, what about the remaining threats in the system?" Harris's gaze moved to the edge of the sensor field. "There are no immediate threats, but the galaxy is vast. Other relics may exist. Other powers may awaken. We must be ready." He turned to address his crew. "You performed excellently. Today we did not just destroy a station. We reminded the galaxy of humanity's strength. Take pride in this victory, but remain vigilant. Our presence will not be ignored." The crew acknowledged with nods and quiet determination. Every officer and sailor knew that their actions would be remembered. The humans had returned, and they had shown the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with. In the aftermath, the Kyril convoy carefully resumed its course along the trade lanes. The escorts maintained heightened alert, but there was a new respect in their movements. Captain Marin spoke privately with Varric. "We were lucky to survive. That ship, it is not just power. It is precision, intelligence, and purpose combined. The galaxy must take note." Varric nodded. "We will report this, but I suspect others already know. The humans are not hiding. They never intended to." Even as the convoy moved away, the Titan's wrath followed at a measured distance. The station was gone, but the presence of the ship itself served as a warning. Humanity's power was no longer a secret, and every fleet in the galaxy would now reconsider its calculations. Harris allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. The mission had gone as planned. The station had been neutralized. The convoy had survived. And the humans had demonstrated that their return was not symbolic. It was decisive. Mira spoke softly, almost to herself. "The galaxy will tremble when they learn what we are capable of." Harris looked at her, his expression calm but firm. "Let them learn at the right time. For now, we return. There are more systems to secure, more threats to identify. Humanity has returned to the stars, and our work has only just begun." Outside, the Titan's wrath glided silently through the aftermath of destruction, its engines leaving faint trails of blue light. The void seemed quieter now, but the echoes of power and precision would ripple through the galaxy for cycles to come. Every ship, every fleet, every station would remember the day humanity unleashed its monster ship, and the galaxy would tremble at what it meant. The galaxy had changed in the space of a single battle. Word of the Titan's wrath spread faster than any fleet could travel. The Chiral convoy carried the story of a human warship capable of destroying a Predator-class station in moments. Even as they recounted it, disbelief and awe filled every transmission. No one had ever imagined that humanity could return with such force. Commander Harris sat quietly on the command deck of the Titan's wrath. The ship had survived, intact, and yet the weight of responsibility pressed on him. Humanity was no longer hidden among the stars. Every civilization that had ignored or underestimated humans would soon learn their strength. Lieutenant Mira approached him, holding a display with the latest fleet reports. Commander, multiple systems are now aware of our presence. Reports are coming in from neutral sectors, research stations, and distant trade lanes. They all mention the monster ship and its actions against the station. Harris studied the readings. Good. Humanity's return should not be silent. Let the galaxy remember us for the right reasons. Not for fear alone, but for resilience, intelligence, and strength combined. The Titan's wrath moved quietly through the remnants of the destroyed station, collecting valuable data and analyzing what systems might still be salvageable. Sensors detected energy traces that could inform future designs, weapons calibration, and defensive structures. The humans had returned, but they had not come empty-handed. Meanwhile, the Chiral convoy made its way back to the nearest Union outpost. Captain Marin maintained a careful course, glancing at his sensor screens. The story he would tell would be recorded in the Union archives and repeated to fleets for cycles. He felt a mix of respect and caution. Humanity was no longer a distant legend. They were present, powerful, and intelligent beyond measure. Back on the Titan's wrath, Harris convened a briefing for his senior officers. The warship floated silently in orbit around a minor planet near the destroyed station. "We have demonstrated power," he began, "but our work is just beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are threats, both known and unknown. Every civilization will now judge us, and we must ensure that judgment respects humanity's strength." Mira spoke up. "Sir, the station's destruction will surely attract attention. Neighboring systems will send fleets to investigate." "Let them come," Harris replied. "We will be ready. Preparation is the key to survival. Our presence should be felt but not abused. We act as guardians, not tyrants." The crew nodded. Each officer understood the meaning. This was the dawn of a new era for humanity. They had returned to the stars not as a hidden species, but as a force that could challenge the galaxy itself. In distant sectors, fleets that had dismissed humanity began to reassess their strategies. Reports of the Titan's wrath reached military, councils, and research stations. Scientists analyzed the capabilities of the warship and debated how humans could construct such a vessel without detection. Admirals revised their plans and trade routes, understanding that a single human ship could alter galactic power balances. Within the Chiral Union, Captain Marin submitted a full report detailing the encounter. He described the station, the human warship, and the precision of the attack. He emphasized that the humans were not reckless. Every action had been calculated. The report concluded with a recommendation. All trade lanes should acknowledge human presence and avoid restricted zones, until further notice. Back on the Titan's Wrath, Harris addressed his crew again. We have proven ourselves, but power alone is not enough. We must act with responsibility, intelligence, and foresight. Humanity's return will not be forgotten. Make sure every decision we take from now on reflects that. The ship's engines flared briefly as they adjusted course to return to a human-controlled system. The crew worked efficiently, monitoring every signal, maintaining shields, and reviewing data from the battle. Outside, the remnants of the station floated silently, a reminder of what humans could achieve when facing danger. Lieutenant Mira approached Harris with a personal observation. Sir, the Chiral convoy will carry this story throughout Union space. They may fear us, but they will also respect our efficiency. Humanity is no longer unknown. Every civilization will now consider our presence carefully. Harris nodded. Exactly. Let the galaxy remember that humans are clever, resilient, and capable of great power, not for conquest, but for protection. We show strength because we must, not because we want to dominate. That is the lesson they will take away. As they traveled through space, the Titan's Wrath passed systems that had once ignored humanity. Sensors picked up communications from distant worlds. Traders and explorers whispered about the monster ship that could destroy ancient predator stations. Even governments that had not encountered humans directly prepared fleets to observe, never to underestimate again. Marins. Convoy had reached safety, but the experience had changed every captain aboard. They had learned that human technology, strategy, and discipline were unmatched. They would report this for cycles, shaping the decisions of leaders across the Union. Fear, respect, and admiration mingled in every report. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars. On the Titan's Wrath, Harris reviewed the map of nearby systems. The galaxy was vast, but now humanity had a presence that could protect trade, prevent chaos, and ensure that ancient threats could be contained. Each crew member knew that the ship was more than a vessel. It was a symbol, a living example of what humans could achieve when united, intelligent, and determined. Mira spoke softly. Commander, this is more than a victory. It is a statement. The galaxy will remember today, and our presence will change the way everyone thinks of humanity. Harris allowed a small smile. Yes, Lieutenant, and it is only the beginning. Our strength is not just in our weapons, but in our mind, our discipline, and our willingness to act when necessary. Humanity has returned, and now we must ensure that return is lasting. The stars stretched endlessly around them. The Titan's Wrath glided silently, a massive shadow moving with calm purpose. Each system they passed would now know that humans were back. Each fleet, station, and civilization would measure their strategies against this new reality. Humanity had unleashed its power responsibly, decisively, and intelligently. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would echo for cycles. Do not underestimate humanity. They were clever, resilient, and above all, capable of facing threats that no one else could. The Titan's Wrath had proven it, and the legend of humanity's return would spread faster than any fleet, faster than any signal, faster than any record from the past. Harris stood at the command deck, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns, but humanity now had a presence it could not ignore. Every civilization that had counted humans out would now remember the day when a single warship destroyed an ancient monster and returned to announce humanity's power. "Prepare for jump," Harris ordered. "We return home. Humanity has a future among the stars, and it begins today." As the Titan's wrath accelerated toward human-controlled space, its massive hull reflected the faint glow of distant suns. Crew members worked efficiently, aware that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had reclaimed its place, and the legacy of the Titan's wrath would serve as a lasting symbol of human strength, intelligence, and perseverance. And somewhere, in the vast reaches of space, civilizations whispered stories that would be remembered for generations. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never forget the day the Titan's wrath unleashed its power and reminded everyone what humans were truly capable of.